Do you feel like you're constantly dealing with business emergencies? Every day you're putting out fires all the time, and you don't even have enough time to really plan strategically where your business is to go or what growth strategies you want to put in? You can't even think about that because every day you're just putting out fires and dealing with emergencies. This is a video for you. We're going to talk about why you're constantly putting out emergencies and how we can give you a breakthrough so that you can shift from constantly dealing with that, actually proactively growing your business. Reason number one is actually quite simple. You're stuck in this rut. You're stuck in this reactive rut where you're doing work and emergencies are coming in and you find yourself in this rat race of just cleaning up emergency after emergency after emergency after emergency. And you're just stuck there. You don't even know how to come out of that. You don't know how to come out of the hamster wheel. You do not know how to start finding the time to deal with your actual growth strategies. It's like steering a ship in the middle of a storm without a map. So you know you're supposed to be going in a certain direction, but you're so busy, trying to go around obstacles that just come your way that you can't focus on where is the map and where am I trying to go. You can really get stuck there. Stay tuned to the end of this video and I'll show you how you can get out of that rut. But first, I want to talk to you about another reason that you're dealing with emergencies over and over on a daily basis. Your systems and poor planning. If you're not planning well, then you're giving opportunity for emergencies to come up. For instance, let's say you have to go on a business trip, but you didn't take the time to plan out what are the items that you need. You didn't plan out the outfits you need to wear. You didn't plan out, the itinerary for what you're going to do when you get there. What can happen is, as you're winging it, you didn't plan out all the unforeseen issues. And so all these issues now become emergency. You see the problem? And now when these are emergencies, you're just dealing with emergency after emergency after emergency after emergency, and you may not even fulfill the whole purpose of your trip. And this is why it's important that we plan, because poor planning also leads to a huge amount of crises. And we, whatever can go wrong will always go wrong. And we have to remember that. And that's why taking the time to plan. But again, you're like, but I'm telling you, I'm stuck in this rut of constant emergencies. Don't worry. We're going to really talk about how to get you out of that. But I want you to be aware of why you're even dealing with this constant. I had a client who they were working with one of their clients, and I was giving them some tidbits like, okay, I think you should consider doing your processes this way. I think you want to add this into your sequence of events. You might want to look at this particular system. And they were saying, we should be fine. We're going to be okay. It's worked out before. And so we don't have to worry about that. And then their brand new client that came in started to say, well, this is an issue. That is an issue. And they found themselves in a space where they were literally just dealing with emergency after emergency and then tweaking and tweaking. And then when I came back in and said, hey, maybe if you really put that system in place that I mentioned some months ago, they were like, yeah, but we don't really have the time for that right now. We got to fix this issue. We don't really have the time for that. I got to take this phone call and deal with other issue. And then they had other clients coming in, and it just started to pile on, and it was a mess. At the end of the day, it was a mess. That's what happens with poor planning. Another reason that things may always seem like it's an emergency is your lack of systems. And I'm going to stick on this area really quickly because let me tell you, when your systems aren't put in place, you'll have these little tiny small issues, but they will snowball into bigger issues and bigger issues and bigger crises and bigger issues. Because in the beginning, it's a small thing, oh, that is negligible, and we ignore it and move on to what we consider priority. That small thing, it's almost like if you have a tear in a garment. If you don't just quickly mend that tear, it will widen and widen, widen. It's like, when you're driving in your car and a stone or a little pebble hits your windshield. Has this ever happened to you? Because it has definitely happened to me. And you didn't even see anything. You don't even see like a hairline, anything, any crack. And then all of a sudden you see a hairline crack. And then that crack turns into this big crack from the top of your windshield all the way down to the bottom of your windshield of your car. And now it's this gaping, lightning strike looking crack, all because of that little tiny pebble that wasn't taken care of. And now you got to replace the windshield because it's too big of a crack to keep going. That's what happens when your systems are lacking. Little issues in it that you just overlook starts to become bigger and bigger and bigger of a problem. And so I want to spend some time talking with you on how to fix these issues, because here's the truth. We didn't go into business to deal with emergencies, okay? We're not firefighters. Well, you might be a firefighter, but in your company, I'm sure you're not a firefighter, okay? You're probably, I don't know, a photographer or a videographer. You're probably a business consultant. You're probably whoever you are. Let me tell you, you're not in the business of constantly putting out fires, constantly dealing with emergencies, constantly feeling like you want to pull your hair out. That is not why you went into business. You went into business to do the thing you love and to grow and to flourish in your marketplace. That's why you went there. So I want to help you fix these issues. Are you ready to go in? Let's go in. Fix number 1. Let's create your plan. Remember when I spoke to you about like you're going on a trip? Let's plan out the trip, shall we? Let's look at every detail. Let us figure out what we're wearing. Let's figure out what the itinerary is. Let's do real planning on the project you're about to embark on the onboarding process of your client, on the actual system or process that you're about to fulfill. Let us plan it. So when you're planning it, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, when you're really planning out what needs to happen or you're planning out that itinerary, then you go through each step and take time to think about what contingencies you can put in place just in case something goes wrong. Because let's be honest, usually these issues you're dealing with daily are kind of the same issues, and I know you know it. You're dealing with the same issues over and over again, but the problem is you're handling them differently every time because you're winging it. So let us look at what contingencies can be put into place so that you don't have to constantly be trying to figure out how to fix this issue. So let's say step number 1, you're like, what can go wrong? What can the technology mess up? Do I need a backup battery power for my piece of technology? Do I have a person in place to ensure the automation is working? Look at all the contingency that you might need to put in place right there in case of any emergency. It's like when we go on a road trip, you want to bring first aid kit, right? Just in case someone gets a boo-boo. Yeah. When you're setting out your plan, look at all the contingencies and then make sure that you have something in place just in case an emergency pops up. And you could start with the emergencies you already know that always seems to come up, the common one. It will save you a lot of time. Number 2, document your processes. Document them one by one so that, let's say you get sick. Let's say you're unavailable. That your team, someone else that you can delegate it to, can literally still run through the process. I'll never forget it. I had a client that was struggling with a service provider. Why? They could not reach them. This particular day, everything was going crazy. They needed to reach them. They're calling, they're texting, they're emailing, no response. They're pulling their hair out. They're so stressed. You can imagine they're like, I'm done with this service. I'm over this service. They're not there for me when I actually need them. Why? Because this person was a one-man show. They didn't delegate out the systems or the processes to anyone as a contingency if they got sick, if they were on a plane and didn't have reception, whatever the case may be, they didn't have a contingency in place. So you want to document all your processes because at the end of the day, you'll be able to hand that SOP over, that standard operating procedure over for someone else to manage, for someone else to handle, and your client will feel like it's a seamless experience. Your client will feel like this is amazing. I'm always being served at the highest level. And that will minimize many emergencies and crises coming up because guess what? They're not losing their mind. You have been there for them, whether it's you personally or someone else, because your systems have been documented. So that's another way. That's another way we can minimize on emergencies and crises. And let's also talk about now another thing. Number 3, make sure that your routine tasks are also well done. What do I mean? There's certain things you have to do all the time. You always have to invoice. You may always have to schedule. I already knew you always had to invoice. Why? Because you're a business. That means you're doing this to get paid. So that's what I'm saying. You always have to invoice. You always have to schedule meetings. You always have to, these tasks that are just routine that you have to do daily, just make sure there's either an automation for that or someone else deals with that and they have it on automation and they're just literally making sure that it happens every day. They have a checklist or something to make sure that it's happening every day. Because the more you use automation, the less risk for emergencies and crises. Because the only thing you have to think about is your technology and always have a battery pack for that. So the point I'm trying to make is that you want to automate as much as you can these routine tasks so you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. It's like on autopilot. And so if your client needs, this is why people, when clients either message or email, they may send an autoresponder so that the client doesn't feel ignored and then someone else can pick that up on the back end. This is why it's great to have automations such as triggers that say, hey, once this day passes, invoice the client, send them an invoice, send them a reminder to show up to your event, send them a reminder to show. These are little things that can avoid crises and emergencies because you start an event and someone is text messaging you, where's the link or where's the address or where, because you had it on auto respond, you had it automatically ready, you had everything flowing in a workflow. That is what you want to do so that you can minimize, again, emergencies. That is the point. Why? Because we are tired of pulling our hair out and not being able to focus on our business. Now, once you have these items in place, even if you just use one of these things, you will see a huge difference. And what it does is it frees you up to now talk strategies for growing your business, because any business that's not growing is dying. If it ain't growing, it is dying. And so you want to make time to expand and grow your business, and we don't have time to just sit in front of emergencies all day. Hope this video helps.